We are ready. Let's get this party started. Today, on today's show, guys, we're going to be talking about Arsenal, Odegaard, Kiwior. We're going to dive into a little bit of Man United chat. Of course, they face West Ham in the Premier League. Massive game in the Premier League for United as they race for the top four. They keep slipping, they keep sliding. Also, we're diving into Erling Haaland, his record at Manchester City, and their big game in the Premier League, as well as they try and chase the title against Leeds at home on Saturday at 3 o'clock. Interesting. Guys, get all your thoughts in for today's stream. Let me know what you've been thinking about. Is it about Granit Xhaka's assists? Is it about Odegaard's movement to attack the D in the 6-yard box, which has become a real trait under the Norwegian international? But welcome, everyone, today. Before we dive into the Premier League news, though, guys, we've got to talk about one team that has won a humongous trophy this season, and that is Napoli. Napoli have won Serie A for the first time in, was it 33 years? The last time they won it, of course, Diego Maradona. His Argentina won the World Cup. Then his Napoli side that won the Scudetto. Of course, we had Messi's Argentina winning it and Kvaratskhelia's Napoli winning Serie A. Let's get some GGs in the chat to Napoli, to all those good people. What an incredible sort of squad that they've built in a really short space of time. You think Kvaratskhelia, the likes of Kim Min-jae, signed in the summer, that have been humongous players for them. You know, on top of that, the likes of Lobotka, Anangisa, you've got, you know, Hirving Lozano, Simeone, Raspadori, and of course the main man, Victor Osimhen. 22 goals in 25 starts this season in Serie A. Absolutely brilliant. And from Napoli, and look, they deserve it. They've played the best football by a mile in Europe for me. The only sort of criticism of Napoli, I'd say, is kind of they've dropped off a little bit in the the last few months, in a sense. They've not been as good as they were, but I'd say around that the sort of Christmas, January time, they were playing some of the best football I've seen in a long time. The performance against Ajax in the Champions League, the 6-1 win, was absolutely brilliant. Anangisa having an absolute madness, Raspadori's brace, Di Lorenzo anchoring midfield, and I think they've built a top quality side. And what I want to see for sure is them not be dismantled. Of course, Victor Osimhen's probably going to leave in the summer, but the rest of the team, you're looking at the core of that. I think that midfield three, absolutely brilliant. Big reason why they're so good is how they not only play with the football, but how they press and they engage. They've been a massive part of Napoli, and of course, the star in the throne, Kvaratskhelia, the prince of Napoli. He's going to go down as a Napoli legend now, such an explosive footballer. He has been such a breath of fresh air in European football. He's so dynamic, so skillful. 12 goals and 10 assists in Serie A this season, all from that kind of left-wing position. Can play make, can dribble, can carry, can score. Napoli have been absolutely fantastic. Congratulations to Spalletti as well, who was the person that brought the false nine back to Europe, back to European football. We hadn't seen it for a number of years, and he obviously did that with Francesco Totti, inspiring the likes of Alex Ferguson to play that at Manchester United, and the great Pep Guardiola at Barcelona. Spalletti deserves it. What a guy, what a team Napoli are. And let's hope that they continue. They grow from this position. There's so many players that I take from the Napoli team right now. Di Lorenzo, Kim Min-jae, Lobotka, Anangisa, Kvaratskhelia, of course, Victor Osimhen. Raspadori, I think, is a wonderful little footballer. Loads of good stuff. Big shout out to the sleep paralysis demon in the chat, and Chris in the chat as well. And Ahmad has just joined. Guys, get all your thoughts in on Napoli, on Arsenal, on Manchester United. Chris, looking forward to this one. As you said, Kiwior is not it in your last Arsenal video. Yeah, I've got to go back and apologise to the people. I think Kiwior was absolutely sensational against Chelsea, and I wrote him off far too early, so I've got to hold my hands up and say, I'm sorry. Won't do it again. Mob in the chat, bro, can you do a video of 3 forwards that Arsenal could sign this summer, with number 1 being Victor Osimhen? The question is, do Arsenal need, any forwards? That's kind of the situation that we're at right now, because for me, Arsenal have got one of the best attacking units in the world of football. I think the depth that Arsenal have in terms of the amount of positions that goals come from is top quality, in a sense of Xhaka this season, what he's on. He's got his 5 Premier League goals, 7 assists in the league, but you're looking at the front four in Martin Odegaard on 14 goals. Martinelli didn't even start against Chelsea on 15. Saka's been brilliant in that area as well. 13 goals and 11 assists. Do Arsenal need a number 9? I don't know, I think it's one of those positions where I think Arsenal are pretty well set there, but will be an interesting video. Mob Hustle, so we will take a look of that. Of course, we are the People's Channel, the People's Champion, the People's Channel today, so do get involved. Arsenal in for Zubimendi. I think Zubimendi could be a really good signing for Arsenal. I like him. I like what he's got. Really good reader of the game. Anthony, in fairness, Kiwior only played against the poor Chelsea side. Yeah, again, but I thought he played really, really well in the match. I thought he was properly dominant at the back. 4 clearances, 1 block, 3 interceptions, 100% of his tackles, completed 93% of his passes. The one thing I'd definitely say that he needs to improve on, that aerial duel number isn't quite good enough for the Premier League, and that could be targeted when only one of his 5 aerial duels against Chelsea. But I do think he looked very good on the ball, and I think that benefited Arsenal a lot more than when Rob Holding plays. I do think Rob Holding has got a good position within the Arsenal squad to come on, to see out games. Even if Arsenal wanted to start with a back 3, I think Rob Holding's absolutely spot on for that position. But I think Kiwior, in terms of the ball playing, is just kind of levels above. Raja, ready in the chat. I'd like to see variation in the forward position. Jesus and Tony as options would be lovely. Yeah, would be pretty decent, pretty good. In that. But I think Arsenal still, they've done so well this season. Let's not forget that. Sky reporting that Villa are in for Vlahovic and Torres. Is that Pau Torres, James? That is an interesting one. Interesting one for sure. Got myself a little coffee for the stream today and some protein shake, guys, because we just hit the gym. We're lifting some big weights, doing the 30 kgs each arm on the dumbbells, Got to keep that chest growing. It was my birthday yesterday as well, guys. So if you want to send me a birthday message, you do that right now. You get involved. Had a great time. Saw friends, saw the family. And I kind of ignored the Man United game, which obviously wasn't great. Ferran Torres for Villa. Ferran Torres is one of those players that Unai Emery would just get a tune out of. You know that he's going to play him as like a kind of that central winger position, or as a striker like we saw with Dan Juma, and he's going to rip it up. Ferran Torres is such a weird player because I like him, and he is young. He does miss chances, don't get me wrong, but his movement's very, very good. He's almost kind of like the Spanish Sterling in that sort of sense. Sterling's movement is absolutely elite level. He'll get chance after chance after chance with his good movement and support play. But he's a little bit of a unique talent in that sort of sense. Perfect for a possession-based team like Guardiola's City over the years. And I think Torres has just got to keep playing for a side like that. I think signing for Barcelona with the depth they've got on the wings, maybe not the smartest move, for sure. Shout out to Mahad and Ready in the chat. Happy birthday. Thank you. Thank you for yesterday. But, 1 year stronger, 1 year older. Pretty decent year of my life, I think, the last one, with you wonderful people. So let's dive into the show today. Do get all your points in about who you want to get, Arsenal signings. What a video on the main channel, the Statman Dave YouTube channel, talking 3 players Arsenal need to sign to win the Premier League. Because I think this squad is very, very close. Arsenal are in a great position right now. The youthfulness of the squad, if you look at the average age of the players played this season, is at 24.5, which is the joint lowest in the Premier League with Southampton. Arsenal have got the perfect squad right now for me for long-term success. And I think that's the kind of, it's just improving it. It's making these little changes. So we did a little bit of analysis on players that would instantly make the jump up to that next level. I look at the likes of, Jorginho, El Nene, Granit Xhaka and Thomas Partey and think there's upgrades there in there. I think the front 4 positions, should we say, with Odegaard as well, probably absolutely sound. I think at the back, getting a player that can play centre-back and right-back, I think, as well. I think with Tommy Yasu, I think he's got the quality, but injuries have been a humongous concern in his tenure at Arsenal. If Arsenal want to win the league, they need dependable rotation players. You need your John O'Shea's. You need your Mikel Sylvesters. You need your players that will just be consistent. When they're called upon, they'll play at a high level. Your Darren Fletcher's, obviously at the start of his career, then he became an absolute baller in central midfield for Manchester United. Shout out to Mob as well. Thanks for the birthday wishes. Everyone a run as well in the chat. Anthony saying a lot of Barcelona players being linked with a move away. Rafinha to Newcastle. I heard that. That would be absolutely bonkers. I think that would be a brilliant move for Newcastle United. As much as you've had some real quality from Newcastle in certain games, in certain positions. If you added someone like Raphinha to that forward line with his intensity, we know that he works super hard. That's a prerequisite for Eddie Howe's Newcastle United. The pressing, the aggression. You're switching out an Almiron, who's obviously Almiron's had the season of his life. Can he replicate that? You put questions in. Obviously, his goals, a lot of them came sort of in the mid part of the season. The spell here where he scored 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 goals in 7 games, 8 goals in 7 games. Has he replicated that again? Not quite at the same level as we can see through the season. Raphinha would be absolutely brilliant. If they sign Raphinha, that is, upgraded them to a team that's really, really, really aggressively improving. And a player that's not played enough. For me, 21 starts in the league. For a player of his talent, is really sad because I love Raphinha. I think he's one of the best left-footed right attackers in the world. I really do. I put him at that level. I think he's absolutely brilliant. And the intensity that he plays at with Newcastle United, that is a recipe for success for the Geordies. It really is. I'm actually in Newcastle tonight on a stag do, so shout out to Newcastle. But yeah, let's move on to the Arsenal chat. Arsenal, they're still pushing forward. City now 1 point clear. City with the game in hand as well. There's still a chance. That would be the one thing that I'd say to all the Arsenal fans in the chat. There is still a chance. You've got to keep believing. And you've got to keep that positivity going because Arsenal have had a cracking year. They really have. And I think one player that's really, really excelled is Martin Odegaard. And I have been so, so impressed with how he has evolved as a footballer. And when you're looking at where he started as when he came into Arsenal, he didn't have that confidence and form that he showed at Real Sociedad. He had another little bit of a spell at Real Madrid, not playing first team football. But the way that he's developed, the way that he's grown as a footballer has been absolutely brilliant. What I love about him is he's the perfect system player, and that's what you need this day. You have your Mavericks, you have your players that create something out of nothing, and that is what I think the biggest praise for Odegaard is. He is the perfect system player, but he has all the brilliance of a kind of classic Riquelme playmaker. He's got that vision, he's got that creativity, but he does the hard stuff really, really well. He does the things that attacking midfielders don't like to do, like, linking in between the lines with the winger. Simple stuff that goes unnoticed. His pass accuracy is super high for Arsenal, and I think that's one of his biggest strengths as well. Always retains possession in the final third, keeps Arsenal going. But where he started to really excel is his goal scoring, and he's become a top-level goal scorer. I think he's going to become one of the best goal-scoring midfielders in the Premier League. We did some analysis about 3 months ago where I looked at him in big detail in a sense of what and how he attacks the box from wide areas. When the likes of Martinelli and Saka are swinging balls into the box, and his ability to arrive at the right time. He has the timing, which arguably is one of the most hardest things to teach a player, is that awareness to score goals. Goals are the hardest thing to do in football. Odegaard, 14 non-penalty goals in the Premier League this season. That equals Yaya Touré's record of most goals non-penalty. If he was on penalties, he'd be on 20 goals. That is the level that Martin Odegaard's playing at, and the timing to arrive at the right time in the right areas. Edge of the box we saw last night, lovely little shift, and then the finish from outside. We also saw a lovely little ball from Granit Xhaka in that wide area, and then finishing it off against Chelsea. And that ability to create those problems, and we're seeing like a new dynamic forward line. One of the big things that when we saw the Centurions at Manchester City, there was David Silva here, and then there was Kevin De Bruyne here. Both of them excelled with assists, and their kind of front four players were all over 10 assists in the Premier League. Arsenal have kind of changed it in that sense, where they've built this forward line where it's assists, it's goals scored from all areas, and that is the beauty of playing a false nine, is that long term, I think it's a better strategy. And look, Haaland is changing this. Haaland is such a unique player, but the majority of teams and players are not going to have an Erling Haaland. So this method of having 5 attackers that all score goals, I think for me is kind of how you build a successful football team at the moment. Where I want to see football going, I think, adding Ben White and Zinchenko, and even Thomas Partey. Obviously, Thomas Partey scored quite a few from range this season, but getting goals from those inside movements from deep as well. that finish and that finish in the box from those two. And then you have only 2 players that don't score goals in your entire team. And obviously Gabriel's a threat from set pieces. And when Saliba comes back, he's also a threat from set pieces. But you're creating an 11 of goal scorers, which I think that's where, I'd be taking it for sure in terms of football. But let's take a look at the kind of the stats in a sense of it. It's absolutely fantastic. If we look at if we look at central midfielders in the Premier League this season, it's 5 more than any other player. If we compare that with central attacking midfielders, obviously you can do this all on SofaScore, brilliant football app, 3 more than any other player, and you say Rodrigo's playing as a striker for the majority of the season, and Heung-min Son plays wide left basically as a forward in a 3-5-2 defensive shape. That is the levels of Martin Odegaard. I think we're sleeping on him at the moment. He is having the season of his life. He really, really is. And when I was looking at it was his XG stats were really, really good. Like the consistency of the quality of chances that he was getting was absolutely elite level. From a sense of, I think he had one of the best XGs in the league for a midfielder at the point we looked at him. And it's still very, very high for a player of his quality and his ability. And you could just see it grow and grow and grow. So obviously Saka's on your penalties. They're all penalty takers. Let's move to the next line. Where's the cheeky little guy? Let's go through Arsenal. Just have a look at the XG stats so I can speak to you about these stats because I like the statistics. So XG per 90. Odegaard's on 0.72, which is top quality for a midfielder. Top quality for a ball player midfielder. His expected goals is on 8.5 and his expected assists is on 8.2. It's kind of this dual threat. Brilliant footballer and a joy to watch. And I think we've probably got to take a look at his 2 goals against Chelsea. Just so good. The arriving, the timing, absolutely fantastic. And it's something that, like I said before, sometimes you can't teach this stuff. You really can't. Just jumping into the chat. More happy birthdays from Bob. Shout out to Bob. CCJ Productions. Man knows ball. Cheers, my brother. M3. It's scary that Haaland's also developing the F9 skills. That is where Haaland's got to go next. We'll talk about that when we talk about Man City in a very short while. But let's take a look at the analysis on the goals for Arsenal. Let's just flip over. We've got to load this one. And we've got it. We are live. So we take a look at both of the goals. And what I love about this, the fluidity of Arsenal and how they're going. And then the arriving, the timing is absolutely perfect. So this is the first goal that Martin Odegaard scored, building with out the back, Kiwior and Gabriel. Arsenal's kind of structure, one holding midfielder. They slightly changed it. Zinchenko in this passage of play is a lot higher. Granit Xhaka dropping to get on the ball. Zinchenko opening up the space. This is the key thing, as I mentioned before, about how if you have a false 9, you've got more players that can take that striking position. If you play against one striker, let's say a even Tony at Brentford that scored over 40% of their goals this season in the Premier League, right? You know that there's one threat. What the beauty of having a false 9 is, you have, as I mentioned, 5 threats. The false 9's still a threat. You're still worried where Gabriel Jesus goes after he's dropped off and received defeat, or he's not and he's run off the ball. But the ability for other players to take that 9 position, a Saka, Martin Odegaard, Gabriel, even a Martinelli, that's where we see the combination play, the fluidity of Arsenal. So Jesus off the line, false 9, very important to the goal scoring of Odegaard this season. We've got to make that point. And of course, Trossard when he played there. And then I think less with Eddie Nketiah because he's more of a kind of channel 9, more of a in-behind type of 9. So off the line, obviously Arsenal rotating. Again, I like this rotation. We didn't see enough of this rotation in the part of the season when Arsenal struggled. We didn't see enough of Zinchenko high with the left central midfielder deep in Granit Xhaka. Obviously, Trossard's tucked in this move. The width is kind of held by Zinchenko. We could just see Martin Odegaard, bottom of shot. This is something that I like as well with Martin Odegaard. As I mentioned before, he's arguably one of the perfect system players in European football, is he's not drawn to the ball. We'll see a lot of attacking midfielders get really drawn to the ball, get obsessed with being on the ball, not having the tactical discipline to stay in the other channel. We've got Arsenal's kind of width is very, very good. We've got one inside, inside forward, got the other inside forward down here, and our number 9's dropped off, and then our winger's going to be deeper. It's perfect discipline from him, and he's not overly drawn to the ball, and the width of the pitch is why Arsenal can open teams up. Width is so magical at opening up space, and it's something that Odegaard does really well. But as we mentioned, obviously the threat from Jesus drops off, then he becomes a receiver. Who picks him up? It's not Enzo Fernandez, it's not the centre-back. It's absolutely perfect. Fofana's pointing. Trossard, same with Taves Aspilicueta, he's just off mark. Brilliant false nine play. You create this system where you're now 4v4, plus cheeky little bit of Saka out of shot. Number 5, you've created a 5v4 on Chelsea's backline. They've got massive problems. Great decoy run from Zinchenko on the inside. We can just see Odegaard arriving now. Just want you to have a little look at this movement in a sense, because naturally you'd see a forward or a midfielder kind of attack the near post, attack this area for that low cross. But what I love about Odegaard is the patience to allow the Chelsea line to drop. Kovacic drop into the penalty area to try and block the pass into feet. And that little shimmy there from Odegaard to pick up that tiny pocket of space just on the outside of the box. Ball from Granit Xhaka is absolutely fantastic. Whipped as you'd expect. Finish superb. But that little bit there, that is where you score the goal. The finish obviously is superb, but that is the moment the goal's scored. Little drop of the shoulder, little check inside. He's showing that he's pretending to kid the defender and go one way, spins into the side, and then that sort of opens up the big pocket of space outside the penalty area. If he doesn't shoot there, he could take it, slide in Saka with his right foot. But the quality of his finish is superb. Something that he's definitely worked on at Arsenal. There was goals at Sociedad, but not at the same level and quality. Brilliant finish from Martin Odegaard. It's just that little bit of movement edge of the box. I feel he's massive. People underrate his ability in these positions. And this is something kind of like almost Frank Lampard-esque in a sense. Odegaard is not Kevin De Bruyne. Odegaard is Frank Lampard. But let's move on to the second goal. Similar, really good move. Again, Zinchenko holding the whip. Different build-up from Arsenal. Really good. Granit Xhaka from a deeper position. Chelsea's, they are... what's this midfield setup here? Why is Enzo Fernandez jumping on Jorginho, their 6? We've got a lot of questions about Chelsea, but this is... Sorry, Chelsea fans, this is just a shocker. And it opens up the space later on. Kovacic has basically moved 3 yards to go across and just been run off. But then they get into the final third, seeing a similar approach. Odegaard at the edge of the box. And this time, I think one of what he does well, obviously the two defensive midfielders are more to the right-hand side of the pitch. So, evaluates the space. The space this time is in between the two lines. And I think that awareness and that anticipation of where it's going to be and where the space is going to be, it's so difficult to kind of coach that. But it comes from great movement, obviously good play on the ball from Leandro Trossard. But you could see Sterling's picking him up in this moment, both outside the box. That's where he basically scored the first goal from. So obviously Sterling's seen that, maybe dropping down, maybe there's some tactical instruction for him to pick up that space. But the way that, he moves off the ball and you can see the communication between Granit Xhaka's having a look to see where Odegaard is. Sterling's fixated on the ball, runs off him. Brilliant ball from Granit Xhaka in between the lines, and it has to be perfect. You got the Chelsea back 4, the midfield 4, plus Kante obviously high. It's so perfect. Lovely side foot finish. Super goal from Chelsea, and it's great. It's great goal scoring. And Martin Odegaard, his performance against Chelsea was absolutely fantastic, and this is something big for for them long term. It's how they evolve, it's how they improve this. And the game at the weekend for Arsenal against Newcastle, the big thing with their midfield is that you can get runners beyond it. The big thing that we saw in the cup final, the League Cup final that is, of course, is Man United bypassing the press and basically getting at the Newcastle back 4. What I think this game is going to give us, obviously United went kind of the more direct option. They went over the press. I think what this game is going to give us is a team that is going to try and play through like Manchester City. This could be a banger. This could be a real banger of a game. And with the form of Newcastle United right now, they've just kicked back into a super good level as well. It is exciting. It's going to be a brilliant game. Would very much recommend watching it. So we'll talk tactics now, about that match and so forth, and how Arsenal might be able to, deal with it, because the press is kind of how Newcastle get a lot of success this season. And what we could expect, obviously, we've got on screen kind of that midfield of Joelinton, Joelinton, Willock and Bruno Guimaraes were absolutely fantastic. We could see from the start the front three of Isak, Wilson and Almiron. We haven't seen that recently. What we usually see from the start from Newcastle United is having a Jacob Murphy in the forward line to kind of play wide right, and then Isak through the middle. I think we might see that from the start, or even getting Longstaff back into the team, throwing Joelinton wide left with that rotation. I think we might see this from the start from Arsenal. And the big thing with Arsenal in terms of playing through, the setup is kind of very, very important for them. Obviously Newcastle, they press narrow 4-3-3. They're super aggressive on your base. They're like right on your two attacking midfielders. And what we see with them obviously is kind of the outside midfielders go out to deal with the fullbacks if the ball is switched those positions. It's classic Liverpool Jurgen Klopp early doors, which is really nice. And I think kind of how you play through is bypassing that first 5 block. So either bypassing it, long pass to Saka, ball into Jesus, ball into Martinelli, or if Odegaard pulls wide, hitting that channel, Xhaka pulls wide, hitting that channel. Very complicated little action there, but you get the principle. The other idea would be playing through it, which would be very, very risky. You'd have to be, drawing on Isak to the keeper, Almiron, Kiwior getting picked up. Willock's probably going to be on Thomas Partey. So one method could be, potentially starting Jorginho, flattening out Jorginho next to Partey, flattening out Odegaard and making creating an overload in that area, where if Bruno Guimaraes joins in and makes it an equal one, you've got humongous space for Saka, for Martinelli to pick the channels up, for Jesus to stay, to drop in. Probably what you want to do is pin the fullbacks, and then Bruno's going to drop in, then Jesus is kind of that free player on the counter-attack. So playing through the press is going to be very, very important, and maybe going with the Jorginho, either that position, or alternatively having Jorginho as the base. Jorginho is a fantastic footballer on the ball. Transitionally, not as good, anywhere near as good for him. Unfortunately, Longstaff's not going to train, so I'd probably expect Murphy to maybe come in that case, and then to start with the energy. I'd say Anthony, which it'll be a very similar. I think Joelinton switching with Longstaff tactically would be very, very similar. I think they will hold, Callum Wilson till he's off the bench in a sense. Shout out to Sport Gang as well, watching you from Iran. Big shout out to you, my brother. Mahad, what do you think of Haaland? Good option for both Arsenal and United. He is very Haaland-like in a number of things that he does. Would provide a very different option for Arsenal. I think he could also play wide right, wide left. Similar for Man United, would be an ideal 9, but United need to sign 2 in my opinion. United have got to buy Kane and someone. And they've obviously spent all their money over the years because they haven't managed their finances. I think he's a top player. We'll talk a little bit about him in a sec. So yeah, that's kind of the idea with it. But what we've seen with Newcastle, as they kind of chase games or try and score more goals, is they throw on Wilson and Isak, and they just become a very, very attacking side. And I think it's going to be important for Arsenal to be very disciplined in their defensive shape when defending their own final third. One of the big things that they like to do is getting Trippier on the overlap. Dan Burn's more of kind of a controlling play, you'd say, whereas Willock will provide that kind of attacking impetus. So, covering those movements, I think, is going to be very important with Martinelli, and then, either a Jorginho or an Odegaard tracking that Willock forward run could be very, very important for Arsenal. I generally think this is going to be an absolute banger of a game. I really, really do. Both teams superb. It is all about Newcastle's pressing structure, Arsenal's possession play, but the running of Martin Odegaard and Joe Willock, 2 of the best goal-scoring midfielders in the Premier League this season, and Joelinton. Got to throw him in as well. Guys, get your score predictions right now in for this game. I think Arsenal will show some real class in this game. I feel like it. That the return fixture obviously was a little bit unlucky. Obviously Newcastle kind of sat deep, low block, really frustrated Arsenal. Arsenal didn't create enough good opportunities, and I think beating the press and getting over the press and playing in the middle of the pitch is what Arsenal need to do. Newcastle are so dangerous in the final third when they squeeze you. You want to play the game in their half, in the mid block. You basically want to be coaxing them in these positions. You want to be testing them out with your wide players. You want to be creating that overload in there, and you want to be utilising the players and creating that kind of 1v1 or 2v1 in certain areas of the pitch. Zinchenko will probably play inside in these areas. So it is about kind of, coaxing that midfielder in, then playing through the line, then linking through. If Jesus can be that kind of option into feet, off the line, or alternatively it's Odegaard maybe dropping back and creating that three-man midfield. Similar thing with a rotation of Jesus, then you play through. So this is going to be a great game of football, guys. Get your score predictions in. Mahad's going to go with a 2-2 draw. You worried about United's takeover? God, I don't know what's happening, so I'm not going to be worried, to be honest. I don't see any, I don't see any of my use of my energy being worried about it. It is what it is in this sense. Yeah, it'll happen at some point. It might not happen at another point. There's no point getting frustrated with these things. It's so far out of all of our control. We can't do anything about it. One of the things I've learned this year, developing as a human being, is things that you're out of your control. You need to understand that it's out of your control. There's nothing we can do. So don't worry about it. Just enjoy the end of the season. We've got a big cup final against Manchester City. That's going to be exciting. We're also going to have to play for the top four because we are playing pretty awful at the moment. Score predictions coming in from Johnny. He's going to go 2-1 Newcastle. Arsenal wobbling under pressure. I think that's the big one as well in this mid-block. We know that the threat of the counter-attack is so big for Arsenal. And there will be, if Zinchenko does invert, there will be space out wide for Almiron. Could be great. Sport Gang is going to go 2-1 to Arsenal as well. Mahad, at the end of the day, we can't control it, as sad as it is, yeah. But this is the problem with modern football is, as fans, we should be making these decisions. What it should be. We should have a sharing. We should have a big say in what happens to our football club. That's what should happen in the long term. Because at the end of the day, football clubs are nothing without fans. Football is nothing without fans. And we need to make sure that they realise that. This isn't something to promote yourself, to promote what you are, who you are. This is a football club where millions and millions of people enjoy football. And it's for some people, it's probably the only thing they've got in their lives. So it is sacred. So people coming in and ruining that gets to me. So anyway, Bob's going to go 3-1 Arsenal. Revenge from last season. Yeah, I think it's going to be corker. I'm going to go with I'm going to go 3-3, guys. I'm going to go 3-3. Triple threat death match. Great game of football. That's what I'm going to go with, guys. Let me know what you think of that. Shall we? We'll jump on. Obviously, in the title race, this conversation kind of just naturally goes through. Manchester City beat West Ham United 3-0 at the Etihad on Wednesday. Erling Haaland scored his 35th goal of the Premier League season, a record for any Premier League player, beating Andy Cole and Alan Shearer's records set in the early 90s. I was sad, to be honest. I do work with Big Al. I work with Alan Shearer most weekends. He's a fantastic fella. He was a brilliant goal scorer. And he's always been there, hasn't he, in our lives? He's always been the top, the best. So that's a little bit sad, but at the same time, Big Al is, he came out on Twitter and said, this guy's absolutely unreal. They've done loads of stuff together, interviews, and, talking about striking, talking about goal scoring. So, big respect to Erling Haaland. He's chasing Dixie Dean's record down of 63 goals in all competitions. Actually worked out that if Haaland scores a goal, a brace, a goal, a brace, a goal, a brace, for the remaining 9 games of the season, if they get to the Champions League final, he will he'll beat Dixie Dean's record if he keeps scoring at the same rate he scored at this season. In the last 365 games of football, he will equal Dixie Dean's record. We are seeing a phenom, and the crazy thing is that he could get better. This guy is nowhere near what he could be. That is the crazy, crazy thing about this. And I think someone mentioned it in the chat, if he improves his false 9 skills, his receiving to feet, his ability to turn, to spring, to go. We saw one moment in the first half where he created a big chance for Rodri, dropped off the line, received to feet, turned, played through. The guy's going to get absolutely sick at that. With his strength, with his power, with his vision. It is so frightening what he can be. He is not there yet. There is massive room for improvement. You look at his receiving statistics. Let me get the actual numbers out here. Did a little bit of this on the on 5 Live on Wednesday. We had a little look at this. So when you compare him to a Gabriel Jesus, shall we say, for Arsenal, obviously play different roles. We mentioned before, the false 9 role we mentioned before. The difference in numbers is really interesting. So we're looking at progressive passes received. So that is the progressive ball played into feet. Haaland this season in the Premier League receives 5 progressive passes per 90. When you compare that to Gabriel Jesus at Arsenal, Gabriel Jesus is at 8.32. So it's almost, it's basically 60% more per game. And when you look at the basic receiving numbers, Haaland's receiving passes 18 times per game. Jesus, 36 times per game. Haaland had 21 touches of the football, completed 13 passes, in the game against West Ham. He can get better by a mile. There is so much that he can get better. And he's already, big point, Bob. He's already improved so much compared to last season. The crazy, crazy statistic is that he's on 1.27 goals per 90. That is better than any season at Borussia Dortmund. And when you consider that the Bundesliga is a slightly weaker league than the Premier League, it's absolutely crazy. Imagine if he improved on the ball. Yeah. As well, Mahad, I think those skills is similar to the receiving skills, the dribbling skills, the passing skills. It's just, it's a player that is nowhere near his peak. And it's frightening, absolutely frightening. And it's annoying because Arsenal should have won the league this season. Just because of Erling Haaland. But Man City were brilliant. Jack Grealish obviously continued his good form, grabbed himself an assist. Mahrez opened up the scoring with a good ball to the back post. Kind of the frustration for West Ham is they conceded a really, sloppy goal at the back post. They should be dealing with that after playing really well in the first half. Nathan Ake was back with a goal in there. Julian Alvarez, I thought, was excellent in the press once again. This guy's a warrior. I'm so gutted Man United didn't buy him, man. They've got 2 of the best young strikers in European football. It's so annoying. If only they'd listen to Ralph, eh? Sorry, guys. Get a little frustrated. But Julian Alvarez ranks in the top 1% of players per 90 for tackles in the final third. That is his level. That is his level right now. Mahad, but to be fair, he's playing in an insane team in the peak of its powers when it comes to creativity. He's picking off chances for fun. Yeah, but Mahad, I think when I watched the Haaland goals back last week, one of the things that really stood out was how good his anticipation is. His anticipation is what is the difference. Compared to any other forward, his anticipation is so good. He's always anticipating being in the right place at the right time, always getting on. It's phenomenal about how he'll score the rebound or score the scrappy goal. That is the level, I think, for me. Obviously with his finishing, his little dink last week was brilliant, but it's top quality. Easy Ollie in the chat talking about McAllister. We'll have a little chat about him as we talk about Man United's game. Gakpo is greater than Alvarez. Different players' positions. I think Alvarez would be brilliant for Liverpool. I think Alvarez would be better for Liverpool as the false 9 than Gakpo has been so far. Whether they change it in terms of the development, but I do think Julian Alvarez is literally one of the best young forwards in the world. But I also appreciate Gakpo. I think, Ollie, I'd prefer Gakpo in your team to be the inside, left forward. So you get a false 9. Let's say you play Alvarez, Gakpo, and then a winger. But obviously with Luis Diaz, he's been brilliant recently since he came back from injury. He's playing as the winger in the side. And obviously your squad is just a bit, it's almost like they lost the brain power. They lost the brain's trust in there. But I think, look, Liverpool are going to be chasing United for the top 4. It's as simple as that. United are proper wobbling at the moment. Manchester City face Leeds United under Sir Big Sam Allardyce, who actually did some research this week. At one point, was going to be Man City manager before Thaksin Shinawatra sold the club. Big Sam was about to be City manager, which is bonkers. Absolutely bonkers. Didn't realise that had happened. But, reasonably funny. But yeah, City go and face Leeds United. As we mentioned, Haaland has been big. The statistics for you guys as well. City have created Haaland 53 big chances. The next most big chances created for a player in the league is Ivan Toney with 33. So Haaland's had an extra 20 big chances. Who made that point there about that? About the City deal, the City being created. I think it was Mahad, I think it was. But yeah, absolutely bonkers. Mahad dropping in as well. We should have got an Alvarez. We needed a striker. Wasn't expensive. Yeah, should have done lots of things, shouldn't we? We should have done lots of things in there. Guarded view as well. Welcome back to the chat. He not only anticipates his pace, but his acceleration is amazing. Yeah, ties it all together. Mad, but even the 50+1 model in the Bundesliga where fans own the majority. Look at Bayern, board making shocking decisions. Yeah, Bayern board has got a lot to answer for this season. Sacking my bro Julian Nagelsmann, should we say, in the German. Disgusting. But City this season, Haaland's 24 goals and assists in the Premier League. Only Omri and Suarez have managed more goal involvements in a 38-game Premier League season, so he's going to break that record. KDB's on 16 assists this season, but probably still out injured. We saw him looking like he'd just got out of bed at the Etihad. Needs to work on his gear a little bit. But 9 of his 16 assists have been to Erling Haaland. What a player he is. Fantastic footballer. Great assister. He's going to cause Leeds United a lot of problems. I can't see Sam Allardyce do anything at the Etihad. I think City are just too good at the moment. They are in City form. They're in Sir Alex Ferguson's second half of the season form. Look, how many W's. The last defeat came in February, the 5th of Feb. They've had 1 draw, or 2 draws in that time. Let's hope that our pals at Madrid can save us. Guys, get your score predictions in for this game. Man United versus Leeds. If you remember, Leeds United have been beaten comfortably last time they were at the Etihad. 7-0. Pep Guardiola playing a false 9 in that game with Phil Foden through the middle, Grealish, KDB, Mahrez. Now they got Erling Haaland. So guys, get your score predictions in. I think it could be about that. Leeds' heads drop this season. When they drop, they really struggle. Raji's saying, can Sam Allardyce do? No, I love Big Sam. I call myself Big Dave on Football Manager after Big Sam Allardyce. But no, I think you're playing you're literally playing one of the best centre forwards in European football there's ever been. And you are leaking goals. They've leaked, I think it's 18 in the last 5 games. It's like 3.6 goals per game. To stop that crazy. Raja's going to go 2-1 to Leeds. Ollie's going to go 2-1 City. Is that it, Ollie? You've definitely more goals in there. Mahad's going 9-0, no joke. I genuinely think it could be a 6 or 7. I really do. Just feels like that at the moment. Do you know what I mean? It really does. Super dominant from Manchester City. But great score predictions in there, guys. If hopefully Leeds can do something, make the title race a bit more exciting. Hopefully Big Sam can come away with a 1-0 win. But that's all about hope. Let's move on to talk about Manchester United. A little bit of chat on that little race for the top 4, I think, is needed right now. Because United have played themselves into a bit of a stinky position. They were so comfortable. So comfortable. And now they've kind of put themselves back into a position where Liverpool are now only 4 points behind. United do have a game in hand, yes. But at the moment, they're not looking great. They're really not looking great. And Liverpool are a team that is in full flow. The one thing, though, Brighton could go ahead of Liverpool with 2 wins and get to 61 points in the Premier League. And Brighton, obviously, have been so good. And as much as the result frustrates me yesterday, the game, you'd say Brighton deserved to win by a mile. Had chances. They had chances through the likes of Anthony, but they didn't dominate the ball. Brighton dominated proceedings. When you're fair to it, United obviously defended well. Luke Shaw was great apart from the handball, which is the consistent problem with Luke Shaw is consistency. And consistency doesn't just come week in, week out. Consistency comes in a 90-minute performance. And you've made it to 95 minutes and you do that, I just don't get it. And it's back to the same points with United. Striker, not good enough. With injuries all through the team, we need a number 8. There's problems. And one of the players, obviously, is shone in the Premier League this season, and Liverpool have been heavily linked with him today. and yesterday, Alexis McAllister. He is a fantastic number 6. And I obviously, Argentina used him a little higher. And I think I've made my mind up in a sense of I prefer McAllister in the build-up, deeper, and then maybe roaming into an 8 position versus starting at 10. I think his skill set is on the ball is so good in that kind of, base block for Brighton. Getting on the ball against United, he completed 92% of his passes, 3 chances created, 4 out of his 6 long balls, 4 crosses, 2 dribbles completed, 3 shots on goal, and 3 out of 3 of his tackles. He is one of the best midfielders in the league. And I think defensively, massively underrated, and I prefer him a little deeper than higher for those defensive, ideas and that defensive style. So it's definitely, for me, Alexis McAllister would be a brilliant signing for a number of teams. I think for Liverpool would basically play the Thiago role for Liverpool, which is interesting because, when you're looking at it, it doesn't look like Man United are going to be in for him. It looks like Liverpool have kind of pushing for that. The interesting side of this, obviously, Liverpool now building with Trent inside. It's kind of building with a three centre-backs with a 2 sort of 6s, one of the 6s being Trent Alexander-Arnold. And it's seen Trent absolutely excel. Trent against Fulham was top for basically every single statistic you'd want him to be top of. And I think when you're looking at players like Trent, you want them on the ball. He's so good on the ball. He's one of the best passers in the Premier League, one of the best creators in the Premier League. His vision is just superb. And you look at what he did, against Fulham, top for touches, top for passes completed, top for final third passes, 15 ball recoveries, top. 2 interceptions second, 2 crosses completed, 1 big chance created, absolutely everywhere. Could have scored in the match as well. He had 3 shots on goal. He was brilliant. Liverpool still need to work out what they do with that. What I think they should do is convert Fabinho into a centre-half, play Fabinho in part of the defence, and then in possession move him to 6. Or play him at right back and in possession move him in. And I think Trent has to start at 6. I think you get a much better defensive coverage with that, with Fabinho moving out there, either to centre-back. So either you jump Konate out 1 and he plays right back, or Fabinho plays right back. And I'd prefer Fabinho to play right because he played there for Monaco. He's got experience there. Fabinho right back, Trent inside as that 6th position. And when they move and when they have the ball, Fabinho moves inside. And again, like we see with Pep Guardiola, how he rotates Stones from centre-back and right back to move into that inside position. That's what they should be doing with Fabinho. Saying that, in that midfield, that means McAllister would play higher. And you'd have McAllister in the Curtis Jones position. As that central midfield, it is more of that kind of the number 8s are getting involved in the attacking play. I do like that. It's a different Liverpool in that sense. Do you guys get what I mean? The other thing that they could do, if they want to change it again, is go back to the kind of 2-3 structure. Should I get the tactics board out to show you what I'm talking about, so you guys have got a bit of insight here? These are ideas I've had in my mind all week, and I'm just expelling them right now. Let me just quickly sort the Liverpool team out, because it's a little bit messy at the moment. Let's got Thiago in now. We've got Jones. Let's change that to McAllister. Right, so I'll show you tactically what I'm talking about here. So, the Liverpool team: Gakpo, Salah, Jota, let's say Thiago, Fabinho, Elliott. So it's kind of like a standard Liverpool team. You'd probably say Thiago in their standard team. With the rotation, let's throw Diaz in there, and like that. Let's go with that. Actually, let's throw Nunez in. So, what Liverpool usually have, we saw all loads. The first iteration was the narrow 3, fullback super high, and then the base midfielders sort of playmaking, or being the kind of shuttle as the cover players. They do a lot of defending in the wide areas. They drop back and so forth. I think Liverpool should switch to this attacking structure again, but build it in a slightly different way. Where let's get McAllister into the team for Liverpool. So we'll throw McAllister into the Thiago position. Got our front 3. Let's go with that. So what we'd see with the rotations is that Trent starts at DM, and Fabinho either starts at fullback or Fabinho starts inside. Again, dependent on opponent, you could move that, but mainly Fabinho there. So what you see in possession is that you get that rotation. Fabinho joins Trent, Henderson moves inside, and then McAllister could potentially either play high. It's a little bit like the Gundogan Cancelo movement in a sense, but a little bit more traditional, where McAllister could play high, but also McAllister could play low. And Diaz goes, Robertson provides that width. So the front three is kind of built off the central midfielder that could be Henderson, could be Harvey Elliott, dependent on opponent. You have Diaz inside, it could be Diogo Jota, or you got Gakpo as the 9, false 9 move. But that's how you build up. That's how the change is. That Fabinho moves from inside to out, and you're actually building with a 2-3 structure. And we know that McAllister's got good defensive statistics and he can defend well. We know Fabinho can defend the wide area, and Liverpool will have to be better in the transition. That's how I see Liverpool in the long term. Trent Alexander-Arnold starting as that defensive midfielder, because I think he's got the awareness, the tackling, everything. And the issues is when he's here. So negate that, get Fabinho to play that role, or if not, find a player that can play that role for them. Or you buy a centre half that's super mobile, that can sit deep, and then they build with a 3-2 structure. And that is what Jurgen Klopp should be doing. But yeah, there's the vibes, guys. There is the vibes. Jumping back into the chat, because that was a lot of talk. Mad saying our wingers were too greedy, especially Rashford looking to shoot instead of playing the extra pass. McAllister gives me Modric vibes before he exploded at Madrid. He's a quality footballer, really is. Would you take McAllister over Caicedo? No, I go Caicedo every time, to be honest. I think Caicedo's skill set is so unique. And I think McAllister is brilliant, but I think Caicedo is more unique in terms of how he can win duels, how he can, his statistics are. And sorry, that's the nerd I am. That's the absolute nerd I am. But I think McAllister for Liverpool is spot on. Timber would be great. Yeah, I think Timber in that position would be good in there. If you're putting Timber in the Fabinho role, you're suggesting it takes the perfect, then he can take up the midfield role as well. Yeah, absolutely, Ollie. And again, this is a Fabinho of yesteryear, not the Fabinho we have now. He needs to step back up. And I also think, look, Fabinho playing centre-half, he played centre-back against Arsenal in the Champions League. One time I watched him live, and he was really, really, really good. Devney Wrench as well from the right-back, centre-back, centre-mid. Matsarawi would be a good option for Liverpool as well. Dave, I think that's because our toughest games are over. We can win most of our remaining games. Is that from a Liverpool or United perspective? Jason in the chat asks, where will Liverpool finish in the Premier League? I think their run has come a little bit too late. I think it's just a little bit too late. If Liverpool has started this run a little bit earlier, we're talking pre that, they beat Bournemouth, then they beat Chelsea, they beat Arsenal. I think it's just a little bit too late for them to go. But at the same time, they can win 12 points. They can finish on, maths, 12. Can finish on 71 points. So Man United need 8 points from a remaining 6 games. So the other thing with United, obviously, they've got some home games. They've got 1, 2, 3 home games. So if United win all their home games, they're Champions League, basically. And United's away form, as we saw, 1 point against the top 9 teams in the Premier League? That is so rubbish. They need to improve that next season, they really do. Hugo in the chat, Hugo Santos, keep Fabinho in the 6, drop him into half-back, Trent inverts from the right to the centre, double pivot, left centre mid, McAllister. Yeah, I like that idea. So just showing you what Hugo's saying here. Let's flip back to our tactics screen. So we're saying that Fabinho, so Liverpool start in a 4-3-3. Fabinho drops as a half-back in between the 2 centre-halves, pushes Andy Robertson forward, pushes Trent inside, Thiago goes up, and we build the same thing with kind of that rotation, and then that rotation, and then also that rotation, and also that rotation. I like that. That's quite nice. I think that gives a lot of fluidity, Hugo. And that's what Liverpool need to strive for. Fluidity in their creation. They can, they could build with a 3-2, but they could also, like we said, with Fabinho sits at, plays the Trent role, moves inside, Trent sitting there controlling the tempo. A guarded view, if United get 9 points, they're through. Yeah, I think that's it. United have it in the bag. Home form is amazing. Mad, absolutely spot on. So it's just United have got those games, haven't they? United need to beat Wolves, Fulham and Chelsea. I like Fulham this season. I think Fulham are really good. Even Zubimendi for Liverpool could slot in as a third centre-half. Therefore, you can create with a false back three. Yeah, I think that's not bad, Hugo. I think that's great variation in the build-up, which is what you need. The whole thing with European football is you get pressed. You need to provoke that press. We did a great video on the Clips channel, right on this channel right here, should I say. We're talking about it a lot. Big detail on that. But yeah, super good. Mahad, Fabrizio Romano said that United won't proceed in the deal for McAllister until no ownership. Yeah. Mahad, that's not a worry because we said before we can't worry about it. That's a frustration. Because McAllister's great. McAllister will be brilliant for Liverpool. I've seen him live. He is a great footballer. Absolutely sensational. So, that is life. But yeah, let's just kick back to the game. Obviously, United West Ham is the match for this weekend on Sunday at 7 o'clock, I think it is. Who decided that in the Premier League? 7 o'clock on a Sunday. It's just crazy. Just stupid. But yeah, West Ham played very, very well against City. They did play very, very well against City. Defended well, were super aggressive. So United need to be on their number. Christian Eriksen coming back into the starting lineup has to happen. Man United are unbeaten when Casemiro, Eriksen and Bruno Fernandes have started together in the Premier League. Other statistics we've got for you wonderful people. Bruno Fernandes has created 97 chances in the Premier League this season. No player in Europe's created more. Bruno has got 12 assists in all comps for United, key guy. Only Haaland and Kylian Mbappe have scored more goals in all comps than Marcus Rashford. And Luke Shaw, again, played well at centre-half, but as we mentioned before, the consistency is important. United have kept 4 clean sheets in the 7 games Luke Shaw's played centre-back. He also registered an assist against Leeds United. I'd like to see Jadon Sancho back as well. He's starting to impress me in there. And let's have a look at Declan Rice, because he's someone that I would buy in a heartbeat for Manchester United. West Ham's form's been kicking up recently. They're looking a lot better than they did previously. Obviously, the last 3 games is some tough Premier League games, an absolute humdinger. Hodgson versus Moyes, who would have thought 4-3, 7 goals in the Premier League. But I thought they played well against City in the 3-0 defeat. United should go through. The big thing for them is hopefully they'll be focused on the AZ Alkmaar game. And can, play a B team. It will be very, very nice, but we will see. Guys, get your score predictions into the chat. Man United versus West Ham in the Prem. What do you think the score is going to be? I think there might be a little rotation. Obviously, West Ham had some illness midweek, hence why the likes of Declan Rice didn't play. United need to dominate Casemiro with the rotation of Bruno and Eriksen into attacking midfield. We've got to get that down. That's got to happen. Ole, I definitely prefer Liverpool to sign McAllister over Caicedo. It's dependent on what you want, doesn't it? And if you want to bring Trent, my idea is Trent DM long term. That means you don't need a McAllister in there, and Trent's the quarterback. The classic sort of English way to describe David Beckham in defensive midfield. Nearly broke my face. Guarded viewer is going to go 1-0 to Man United. It's okay, Dave. You can influence the Premier League timings when you're the lead technical director in the Premier League. Hopefully. And I'll make sure it's good for everybody. I really do. Mahad, I want Rashford dropped or at striker next game. He's too greedy. Needs to sort things out. Even putting his assist bonus higher than his goal bonus for a new contract. I think he needs to play as a 9. I think we just can't. We're at this point now. We need to win games. Rashford through the middle. Has to happen. And then we bring Val out for the cup finals to do some pressuring on Man City. It's got to be through the middle. I like Rashford through the middle. I think he's got quality in those positions. He was brilliant against Tottenham in that position. I prefer this Man United team than what we saw last night. Anthony Martial really needs to be sold in the summer. Weghorst, again, great servant. Thanks for his time. Won the cup fight. Won the League Cup with us. First, trophy in English football. But he's not the United calibre. United need 2 strikers. They don't have any money. But yeah, good score predictions, guys. I'm going to go with a 2-1 Man United win in there. We need Garnacho back as well. Yeah, absolutely. We need Garnacho back. Liverpool this weekend as well. Looking at this race for the top 4. Face Brentford tomorrow. Brentford always a difficult game for Liverpool. They absolutely love overloading Trent. They always do it. It's beautiful to watch, but they are like super overload Trent every single game. So it's one of those things, isn't it, where I'll expect in Burmo, Tony, back post, crosses from the right, Onyeka, pressure, all that good stuff, and the goals going in. But no, I think Liverpool are playing very, very well at the moment, and it'll be difficult for Brentford to deal with that. But look, just watch for that back post overload on Trent. This would be the game to play Fabinho in that position, or put another centre-back in that back line and put Trent in midfield. This is the one. Absolutely the one. Get your score predictions in for that game, and that's about that for today. I've got to jump on a train up to Newcastle for a great weekend with the boys. Matt Had's going to go 2-0 United. Sport Gang's going to go 2-0 United as well. What do you think? Do you think we should be going for Camavinga, Dave? I think he wants to stay at Real. Number 1 scout, unfortunately, but I love Camavinga. He is brilliant. Great player. Which striker do you want for United? Kane, Osimhen, Muani. I love what Muani could be, but I think United need to go in for a striker now, which would be Osimhen or Kane. I prefer Osimhen's movement for a team that plays a little bit more stretched football versus United. The whole possession, Harry Kane's the one for me in there. But Muani would be such a cool curveball. Great footballer. Reminds me a lot of Mr. Thierry Henry, which is a big statement to say. Mahad's going to go 2-0 Brentford. Bob's going to go 2-1 to Man United. Ollie, get your score prediction in before we leave. Come on. Come on. Go, 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 go. It's been a great stream, guys. We've hydrated with coffee. We've not really drank the protein shake, though. These ones have got good flavours. Great flavours. But yeah, score predictions, get them involved. And, of course, fantasy football this week as well. Have I got my fantasy football open? Let me just flip that there. Mahad's going Kane, Muani plus Haaland for me. We need 2, absolutely. Fantasy football this week, we got 100. There we go. We got 141 points. We were so close to getting another 2 clean sheets, which would have given us how many more points? So the clean sheets would have given us... Why is this not showing me the score? I just want to see how many points he got. Who does this stuff? It's perplexing. Clean sheet 4 points. It would have been an extra 8 points, and then I would have got another point. So I'm down 9 points from that last-minute penalty. So frustrating. So I would have got 150, which is an absolute zinger of a score, bench boost. And Diogo Jota was flaming injured. Gutted. But yeah. I think we should keep Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Yes, if we're not going to spend on another right-back. I'd prefer to buy another right-back, but if not, then we're sorted. Ollie's going to go 3-1 Liverpool. M3, Dave, Casemiro's passing has been atrocious recently. We need to get an upgrade. Again, I love Casemiro. I think he's brilliant. I don't think he was the right... He's the signing. I wouldn't have made that signing. I think would be my summation of that. I would have gotten with a little cheeky Caicedo or Declan Rice. But... he's been brilliant. You can't deny that he's been brilliant, but his form has been a little inconsistent recently. Which 3 centre midfielders do you think we should go for? So again, I think, you Rice, you Caicedo, they're the top 2 in the Prem right now. In there. And then getting at Enzo Lefebvre. Enzo Lefebvre is absolute massively impressive. Enzo's someone we'll be watching all season, and he would be rather cheap. Plays for Lorient in Liga. We spoke about Enzo a few times. If you've not seen Enzo Lefebvre, it's this kid against PSG last game, scored 2 shots, 3 out of 3 dribbles completed, 2 chances created, won 3 of his 5 tackles, 2 interceptions. such a good number 8. Spot on. Edson Alvarez for Casemiro backup. What do you think? Absolutely spot on. Also Edson Alvarez for centre half backup as well. Really, really good. In there. But yeah, I'd look at Enzo Lafay, Rice, Caicedo. But guys, that's that today. I'm going to have to run. But much love. Thanks for everyone that stopped by. If you are new around here, subscribe so you don't miss out. We are back on Monday for the Premier League review. Yes, there is a bank holiday in the UK, but we're going to make those... Got to make that analysis and all that good stuff. GG's in the chat to all you wonderful people, and we'll see you soon.